Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. It's one of those hot German summer days. And it's funny because I'm not only melting away because of the heat, but also because I listened to a slab of monolithic doom twice in a row yesterday in order to prepare for this interview. So I'm very, very happy to have Mo from Eremit here on the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey man, yeah, thanks for having me. And listening, as you said, listening to the record twice back to back is already like taken up a lot of time.
Yeah, taken up nearly 5 hours, everybody.
yeah.
But I have to say it's worth it. And interestingly, Mo, it's 2 hours, 13 minutes, 3 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
First question, did you ever set out to write a record that long?
No, it wasn't our intention. So we didn't plan to have a double album or a quadruple album, depending on what you count as a full length. But we started writing the material, and the first song just really kept expanding. And at some point, it was over an hour long. So it would
still is in the final mix.
It still is, yes. So it would make up a full length record on its own, but we kept to our stigma of every full length record containing three songs, 3 chapters. So it was clear to us, okay, we got this 1 hour long song, but we need 2 more. And so we kept writing, and we knew it's very long. We also knew if we would want to release this on vinyl, it would be a really challenge to have it released in one package. And in the end, we are very happy with how it turned out. But it's really it's a challenging record, even for us. It's really like you're walking through a lot of landscapes and soundscapes, and we hope that the challenges that the characters in the story and the lore are going through is also transported in the music. And so it's a big journey, and so far we are happy with people actually taking the time and walking through all of this material and all of these chapters.
By the way, our regular listeners will have noticed how hot it must be, because I forgot the initial question on every Veil of Sound interview, but we still can do that now, Mo. What is the band merch of any band, if you are wearing any? What is your band merch of the day?
That's probably most of the days the same answer. It's my own band merch. It's a shirt we released last year, I think. Yeah, it's always like I'm really I'm most of the times I'm wearing my own merch, not because I'm super in love with myself or with the band, but it's I think it's showcasing that when I'm producing the merch and I'm the art director in general, I do the things I want to wear myself. So I'm the honest answer on most every day of the year is I'm wearing my own merch, because that's what I want to wear.
Is it also because you like the quality of the shirts? Because that happens to me when with our Veil of Sound shirts. It's simple, it's only the logo on the side, but it's a very good quality. Is that also something that you then take care of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we for many years, when we started, we used Gildan as a shirt, but we quickly moved away and have now for several years exclusively used Stanley and Stella. It's a Belgium manufacturer, and it's organic and fair trade cotton, and I feel very comfortable with it. And so I mostly wear this. I also wear other shirts, of course. I do have other shirts, but I like the fit, and that's it.
And before anybody asks, if any one of our listeners and audience wants to get that, you can get that shirt through Bandcamp, for example, right? It's in your shop.
Yes and no. So the shirt I'm wearing right now is no longer available. We usually do very small print runs, and they sell out quickly. There's also like this is like when you're a band for a longer time, you maybe go through different labels. So there are different band camps floating around, and so that's maybe confusing to some people. We have a limited run store. It's limited run. Well, it's eremit.com. I don't know the URL at this point.
We will put the link into the show notes, so you just check.
We have a small store. I'm running the store all by myself. So on Bandcamp you will find some merch, but it will be an older Bandcamp from an older label, which definitely has not the best quality, if I may say so. So yeah, if you want to support us directly, we have a small store where we from time to time drop some stuff, and it's not the biggest quantities, but we look on the quality, and yeah.
That is always the best premise to do it. So before anybody asks, I'm just wearing old school Mastodon, something like the Free Hunters. I don't even remember when I bought this. I think like 13, 15, 16 years ago. So let's get back to the record. And, you know, I always try to have like an icebreaker. And when I listened to the records, because last week I also listened to the older stuff, and I went through your lyrics, through the concept, and of course, one has to ask the simple question, The Lord of the Rings or the Chronicles of Narnia? Because one has to give you two alternatives for fantasy to choose from. Which one do you prefer?
I can't really choose because I know only one of those. And it's Lord of the Rings. Like, I grew up with Lord of the Rings. I've read The Hobbit first, and when I finished the book, I like found out like, oh, there's another book related to this, and it was Lord of the Rings, and I had to convince my mother at the time that I was allowed to buy it. She was concerned about the contents, and it was too much of nature exploring. I don't know, but I was allowed to buy it then, and I bought it and read it. And a few years later, after I finished Lord of the Rings, the movies came out. So I was like, in a retrospective, I'm happy to have read it all before the movies came out. I like the movies, of course. But I haven't read Chronicles of Narnia, so it's definitely Lord of the Rings for me.
Did you then also like the Hobbit trilogy, movie trilogy?
I watched it. I didn't like it that much. I don't know. I mean, the book is more childish, and like the dwarves are described in there. They all have these very bright colors, and it's not so grim as the Lord of the Rings, or also as of the Lord of the Rings movies. And I think they tried to make it a little more goofy, the movies, but it didn't really work for me. I didn't hate them, but it was definitely a different flavor, and you couldn't really compare it to the original trilogy. For
me, it's just too long. You know, a 250-page book turned into a 9-10 hour movie, whatever. Any listener who is now wondering, shit, I didn't know I'm in a literature podcast. You are not. You are listening to a music podcast, but it has a reason why I'm asking that, because Eremit's records follow a concept. And maybe you can give out a few of the most important facts that people should know when diving into the oeuvre of Eremit.
I think the first thing as a disclaimer at the beginning is always I'm saying you don't have to get into the lore to enjoy the music. So
that's true.
That's true. It's you can absolutely just listen to the record and enjoy the music as it is, but you're always invited to, if you want to dive deeper. And yeah, so the concept of the band is pretty simple. It's just we're telling a story with the band, and it's every artwork, every song title, every lyric, every cover is related to the story, and each song is a chapter in the book I'm simultaneously writing as the music progresses. And yeah, it has grown over the years, and we have like a mythological cluster of epos and sagas, and it's definitely stemming from a Lord of the Rings perspective of very grand fantasy. Yeah, so it's beginning to break the story down, or the first cycle, which has ended now with the just released record, is we're following along a hermit, which is the English word for eremit, and he's living on a ship on the water on his own, and he was born on the water, but his parents told him that there was once land, and that they were always searching for land. So the first song we ever wrote, or the first song is on the first album, is called Dry Land, and so there is this hermit who never seen dry land, who has always been living on the water, but somehow his heritage tells him you're not in the right place. Actually, you're not a water people, but you should find land at some point. And we're following along this hermit on his journey to find land and to find out how his folk, which is by then extinct, he's the last one of his folk, yeah, why they had to leave the dry land, why they are living on the water, or have been living on water. Yeah, and there's a big story developing, and through the story you learn why there is a sword in our logo. So yeah, it's all connected. And yeah, I've been releasing 2 pamphlets, we call them. It's like yeah, pre-finished versions of the first chapters. I wanted to release the 3rd pamphlet with the record, which has just released, but wasn't able to finish it. So I'm still working on it, and I hope to be able to release it at end of this year, or probably early next year. So yeah, all the people who are interested in the deeper lore, yeah, there is a 3rd pamphlet coming, and it will contain every chapter of this first cycle. You don't have to collect the first pamphlets to get the full story. It will be all in there. It will probably be like 500, 600 pages, so it's definitely long, but yeah, it's coming.
To also cut it a little bit, or not, to look at it from a grander scheme of perspectives, you said these first 3 records that you have now done, by the way, do you include the EP in it? Because I think there's like an EP in between. Is it also part of it? Mm. So all the records
that yes. The EP is taking yeah.
You go on.
Yeah, the EP is just 2 tracks, and it's taking place story-wise within the second record. So yeah, it's included in the first cycle.
So when looking at it, you have like a few records out, 3 full lengths, an EP, and you say that this is a cycle. And you also say that you are writing it simultaneously to the development of each new record. So, I mean, like, I know a lot of authors who write without a finished goal, like, this is where I have to end up. And then there are also writers who don't do that, who say, like, it has to be open, the characters have to tell their tales, and they have to find their own ending. Which of those 2 kinds of authors are you?
Maybe both. I mean, there is a there is a pretty fixed end, which is the 10th record of ours. So there are 3 cycles, 3 full length each, and then there's a conclusion, which is the 10th record. And so I know what's happening there. We probably never get there. Like, I mean, it took us 7 years or 8 years to write 3 records, and it's a band is a delicate thing. People have to spend a lot of time and heart and money to keep this going, and so I don't dare to say we will get there in the end with the music, but there is definitely this goal where all 3 cycles, which the first one we just finished, are coming to a conclusion, and I know what is happening there, but the story doesn't stop there, so it's still going after that. And so there, in the grander scheme, I don't see a total end to the story, but there is an end, which is even probably not even reachable for me in this lifetime. So so maybe both.
Could you imagine finishing the story at a point when the band might not be a band anymore? So when you just say, okay, we have now, let's say, 7 records, maybe 8, whatever, maybe 9, which would be like, I think if you guys split at 9, then everybody should kick your ass.
Yeah.
But could you imagine finishing the telling of the story without the music?
Yes, I can imagine that. We also discussed within the band if we like skip a full cycle to not write the music to it, but just have it come as a book or as a comic or as something in another media form, so that we don't have to walk through the whole story with the music. We didn't decide to do it till now. So there's definitely the possibility of me keep writing, and even if the band is no longer actively producing music or writing music.
Can I then ask the bad question, what is more important to you, the story or the music?
Yeah, that's a tricky question.
I know. And if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's like two very different modes for me. Like, and still they're interwoven, because like when I play live, it's very real. It's very real because I feel the shockwaves of the music. I see my bandmates, I see people in the crowds, and we're really together in this, living these chapters. And at the same time, I can always, like, when I'm performing with the band, always, also through the years, this developed. Like, I think about the story so much at live shows. So I'm really I'm in these places. I've been writing for so many years now, so it's very deeply entrenched in me. I don't know. I mean, my younger self always wanted to be in a band or wanted to be a musician. So I'm not a writer per se.
Go on, I have to close my window. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Like, should I go on? I don't know.
No, yeah, just go on. I didn't want to be bitten by a hornet.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I always imagined more like being a musician or playing shows rather than being an author. Writing this book like came by chance more to me. What's more important to me? I don't know. Maybe it's the book, because I feel like telling this story is the purpose of my life, and the band is more fragile and could break away at some point. But me telling the story, it just needs me. So so in the end, if everything breaks apart or I don't know what happens, this is the core where I can return to, just me and discovering this world. somehow. So yeah, maybe it's the book, but I don't know for sure.
That is probably a very, very also difficult question for you. Would you say that the story is something that also keeps you going, that drives you?
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many aspects of this band, like working with many different visual artists, releasing merchandise, thinking about what I want to wear or what I would like to see on artworks, and thinking about releasing records. Like we just released the album as an LP. It's a quadruple record, and it was a really fun challenge for me to realize it, also with my own label now. So there are many things I really enjoy. And I think I forgot the question.
No, that's already, you have already answered it.
Okay.
Would you say that the storytelling gave you, I don't want to say an aim in life, but did it give you a lot of chances?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just from a artistic point of view, I would also like be interested. Okay, let's add the trumpet. Let's add saxophone. Like there's many things from a just sonically artistic perspective I like to try out. But for me personally in the band, it's definitely the story which is the driving force, and me thinking about what is coming next and how we can portrait these chapters in a sonic way. And yeah, that's definitely a driving force for me.
So how must we envision the songwriting process? Is it you coming in with ideas, or is it everybody coming in with ideas? Is it maybe the result of jam sessions? How do you write songs?
Yeah, so the very first thing is we are writing them very organically. So we're not using like Guitar Pro or any digital writing softwares and sending back and forth ideas digitally. It's really us in the rehearsal room trying out ideas, and it's both. Like we're jamming when we're in the rehearsal room. It's just jamming, and we see what's happening, what's coming up, and but it's also of course we are developing riff ideas and stuff at home, and we bring them into the rehearsal space. And from a perspective of lore versus the music, like what's coming first, it's also a cross pollination, if you will. Like we're writing riffs in the rehearsal room, and simultaneously I'm like talking to the guys what's coming up in the story. And most of the times it's really like magically really fitting to what is happening, but there's also times where we change parts in the order, or change tracks maybe in the order, because it has to fit the storyline. Yeah, so but mostly it's very organic, and we also record live in the studio every time. So we don't do separate tracks. We couldn't do it probably this way. So yeah, it's very.
Do you then also
process.
listen to the recorded material together?
No, like I have a small recording device, and we're recording with it at the rehearsal room, and I take it home and I upload it on a shared cloud, and we can listen to it separately at home. But we don't sit down and listen to maybe sometimes at the rehearsal we put it on and listen to it again. But it's not really to dig it in and think about it. It's more like there was this one drum pattern last rehearsal and we have to recreate it, and then we go through the recording. Yeah.
So how often do you guys rehearse? How often do you go into your room?
It depends. Like usually we try once a week, but in the early days it definitely was once a week, but with time it has been more challenging. Like people are getting jobs, or Marco has moved away a little. He's no longer living in Osnabrueck, and so we have to find time to rehearse. So it's roughly it's once a week, but we don't always manage to do it. So we are on a more tight schedule for a year now, maybe. Like also Kalle, our second guitarist, is always or often traveling abroad, and so like for this tour we only had like maybe 4 or 5 rehearsals together before we went on tour. So we have to, but that's what I said, like the band is depending on what each individual member is willing to give, and that's also our organic approach. Like we don't do session musicians, or we don't look for people compensating others when they are gone. Like the core is me and Marco, like Marco on the drums and me on guitar and vocals. So that's the bare minimum. So, and when Kalle is around and is in Germany, he's joining, and now the 4th member who's playing trumpet, if he got time, he was on tour with us, but he won't be on every show. Then he will join. Yeah.
Is the band, because I imagine it quite time consuming to be in a band which has a certain goal in mind, and who then sees, okay, it might not be easy to reach it. Is the band in a constant songwriting process?
Yes. I mean, more or less. I mean, like since Kalle returned, which was in May, I think. It mostly has been preparing for the tour, and now playing the tour, and now we're back, and I will be on vacation for a week, which will be the first vacation in many years, actually. So there are breaks in songwriting, but it's never, or at least for me, it's never the question like we had a release and then we're meeting and saying, do we want to write another record or not? It's, for me, I'm always seeing what's coming next and always thinking about the new material, writing lyrics. So it's, I mean, it's the funny thing is, like, we are in a unique position right now, as we don't have recorded material up our sleeves. Like when we released the first record, the second record was recorded, and when we released the second record, the third record was already recorded. So we were fast in recording but slow in releasing, and this is like the first time ever in the history of the band, in 8 years now, that we released a record and we don't have anything up our sleeves. So it's like, now is the pressure maybe even a bit higher, like, okay, we have to write and record because we don't have something up our sleeves. And we were always in the comfortable position for the last 8 years that we were, there's a new record coming, but we have the next one is already done. So
so basically at this very moment you have to write material for 2 records. So record one, start recording the second one, release. But I see what you mean. I lost my track of thought a little bit here, but I'll come back to it, because I imagine this also being a good position for you to evaluate the process that you've gone through as a band right now. So I don't want to say you got tabula rasa, but I think, you said, okay, we don't have a new record already completed. We have to write stuff first, then go into a studio. But we can also take these precious few weeks or months and evaluating where we're at. And then maybe also, as you said, come to decisions about the whole pamphlet, book, story, however we want to call it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good, maybe it's just the right time to not have a second record or not have the next record ready, as this is the end of the first cycle. So it's really an ending point. And if we hadn't already booked the studio, I think it's in September, we would have like this time where, okay, let's chill for a bit. But we booked the studio already because Kalle is is traveling again. So the idea was he's coming, we're playing a tour together, and we will record the next record together. So I mean, the third record has been recorded in 2021, I think, so 2 years ago. So ultimately we had 2 years already where we could have written stuff, and we have written a lot of stuff, but we don't have really like completely finished songs. So it's like the coming weeks and months will be like having to wrap up the many ideas and song structures we have, and then hit the studio and record some new chapters, which I'm excited about. Like to have finished this cycle has been like, I think when we recorded the second record, I was like, to the other band members, I don't know how long this is going, how this will work out, but if we manage to finish the first cycle, I'm like totally satisfied. So I'm absolutely happy we managed this, and I think we ended it in a massive and spectacular way. And I'm honored and happy that these guys are keep wanting to make music together, and we just keep going. And it's a new cycle. It feels fresh. It feels like we don't have like, I mean, if we still have the same back catalog, but it feels like we can approach the new material in a very fresh way. And also the visuals will probably change a bit, and it's an interesting time.
When looking at your records and really looking at them, there is something striking that a lot of people in the funeral doom realm will notice very, very quickly. And that is that the first 2 full lengths feature artwork by Mariusz Lewandowski. I mean, it's clear why the third one now doesn't, because of Mariusz's death. But how did the whole thing happen? How did you get the artwork for Carrier of Weight and what is it, a Bearer of Many Names? How did you get them?
It has been a really it really has been a loss to lose Mariusz, and I was really or even now I'm really moved to think about that he's no longer with us, because he was a really important part to the band, to us. And the first artwork, it is, as most people think, in the promo phase to Bad Witch Mirror Reaper. I saw the artwork, and before even Mirror Reaper was released, I was already in contact with Mariusz and was describing to him our story, our visions. And we couldn't pay him at the time, or the amount he was asking, we weren't able to pay. And then he just said he will just do it anyway, because he liked the story, the holistic approach we had already. And so we were absolutely humbled and happy to be able to work with him. And so it was absolutely through Mirror Reaper. But it's also it's making me happy to know that we were after Bellwitch, we were one of the first bands to have worked with him. And yeah, so it was a no-brainer for us at the time that he would do the full first cycle, all 3 full-length records. And yeah, like I have been in contact with his family after his death, and his son told me that on the day he died, he told his son that next day he would start with our painting. Like I had been in contact with him already, and we had discussed the artwork, and he had approved my idea, and we had sent ideas back and forth, and he was about to start. Yeah, so that was a really hard moment for us, and yeah, I mean I'm happy with the artwork we have now. It has been very magically being the absolutely right artwork for us, which is even more striking when you know that the artwork was not a commission, like the artwork was existing at Edinburgh. I saw the artwork on my phone as he posted it already, saying it's available for artwork. And I saw it and I really liked it, and I bookmarked it, and maybe it took me like 2 weeks, and I kept going back to this picture, looking at it, and it was like so striking with the figure and the sword and the 3 like ghost figures in the back. It was like so fitting to the lore. And yeah, then I contacted Edinburgh, which is also like maybe a second nod to Bellwitch, because after Mirror Reaper, Bellwitch also had the Edinburgh artwork, so it's a little a second nod maybe to Bellwitch.
Is that band
Yeah.
an influence for you musically?
Not that much, really. Like I really like them. I just saw them at Roadburn this year playing their newest record in full, or in its entirety. You as well? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And so the approach, the grandness, and the boldness, and just being 2 people and really doing what you think is right for the genre, for the music. So the approach is probably influential on us, but musically, I think it's very different, because like I couldn't do what they're doing. Like I have no idea what they're doing. I just play power chords. Like I'm.
Well,
I think it's
I wouldn't say you
different,
only
yeah.
play power chords. Now, don't put yourself into such a bad light. But I know what you mean. Look, watching those 2 play is an experience on its own. I still remember when they played Mirror Reaper a few years ago in full at Roadburn.
Yeah, I was there too.
And I'm hoping that they will play all 3 parts of the new trilogy at one point. Not all in one. Please don't. But play them in separate years. So I'm hoping that maybe next year they put out the next one and also come to Roadburn. I can't imagine them being artists in residence, because each show would be 1.5 hours. That's a little long, but I also love what they're doing. I know what you mean. In general, is this genre, like extreme doom, funeral doom, however we want to call it, doom, is that your go-to genre for at home, for example, to listen to? Because I'm sure it's not the only one that you listen to.
Yeah. I think it's not my go-to genre. Like, if I had to pick my go-to genre, like if I'm alone at home and putting on stuff, it's more death metal, war metal, ambient drone, cinematic, dark ambient, and still a lot of rap, US rap music.
Ooh, that is something that I would not have expected. So can we expect you to do a little dropping an 8 bar on the next record?
No, we toyed around with the idea of having like ad libs on a record, but it didn't really work out. And yeah, so this is like a different realm, I think, which is not really influencing the work of Eremit. But yeah, I'm listening to a lot of stuff. I'm also like I'm really into blues and jazz. Also, I'm listening to soul. Like I'm yeah, I really, I mean, almost aggressively I try to always find new music, be open to new music, because like for me the one of the worst point of views is some friends of mine or relatives or who are like, yeah, they listen to the music they discovered between 13 and 23.
Yeah.
And this is their whole universe of music which is existing, and they're going back there, and for them it's fine. So if they are happy within this realm, it's totally fine. But if they, from this point of view, are judging today's art or judging art as a whole, like today the bands today are doing this and that, and yeah. So for me, I'm really trying to always get into new music and listening to many different things. Like a few days ago, I rediscovered like planning to rock. It's like it's a transgender queer project out of Berlin, and I love the music so much, and I discovered it through a very negative Anthony Fantana review like 10 years ago. And yeah, so it's I'm really trying to listen to a lot of music, and it's also like classics. Like we've been on tour, we've been listening to 5-6 Maiden records front to back and enjoying it, and it's really like also classic heavy metal music, which I grew up on and am still loving. But I'm not listening like to a lot of Funeral Doom. I don't listen to Funeral Doom, I think. Like maybe if Bellwitch is Funeral Doom, maybe. But what I understand of Funeral Doom is always a very clear production, and the guitars are not really distorted that heavy actually. So it's really slow, and it's deep vocals, but it's the production is not really distorted, and the guitars are like not like so fuzzy. So I'm definitely more like if like the guitar tone I'm chasing is more coming from a war metal or from a power violence perspective, like having it really distorted and heavy.
It's an interesting point. You are totally right. Whenever I listen to Funeral Doom, I have the feeling as if there is a lot of prog rock in there. If anybody wants to judge my opinion, listen to the last EP from Worm last year, not the Foreverglade, the Blue something record. And you will notice what I mean. Funeral Doom, a lot of Funeral Doom has classic prog rock in there. Whereas I agree with you, a lot of the extreme doom like Bellwitch or Sun or maybe not Canade, but you know which direction I'm thinking of. It is more based on a mix somewhere between old acoustic blues and dirty post-punk. I can see what you mean, and I would agree on that one. You know, Bellwitch is no Funeral Doom. I have like a few more questions before we come to our infamous quickfire round at the end of the interview. You have been mentioning that you have done the new record on your own label, Dreigleichen, right?
Yes.
Could you imagine releasing other music through the label?
Yeah, we've been toying around with ideas, and there are ideas which are not worthy to be spoken of, or I don't know.
Yeah,
like
I mean in general.
In general, yes. Like it's we with Dreigleichen we've like created a larger house in which we are able to tell the story, and it gives us and me the chance to even explore further, to zoom out even more from excuse me, from just following the hermit. I think it gives me the opportunity to zoom out and look at other aspects of the whole world. So yeah, it's expanding, and it's not like, it's not only the label for Eremit, I think, and there will be other entities within the realm or within the house of Vergleichen in the future.
But does this house also have an open door for people who are not part of Eremit to come in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were discussing this also on tour, and this is like a discussion I had with a good friend of mine about fan fictions. Like there are different types of writers, probably. Like, some are open to fan fictions, like they create a universe and they are more invited to other people to contribute to it and be part of it. And there are authors who are more protective of their world and are not like approving or not inviting people to take part of it. And maybe it seems to be the more unfriendly perspective or way, but I see myself more in the latter. So it would need, so the Drei Gleichen is not just a label for extreme music. It's definitely, it's a house which is telling the story of this grander universe. And at this point I don't see an entity or a band where I'm not involved at all to be contributing to the universe. Yeah, but this is me speaking today. Maybe in 5 years from now, I'm more open to like fan fiction in a way, but right now I don't see it. Yeah.
Question that's connected to that, I think, is artistic control important for you?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, over the years, or in the early years of the band, it organically developed. Like, I am handling most of the things. Like, it wasn't me being the mastermind and asking people to join my band. It was really like, I mean, Marco and Kalle started the project as a jam project, and I moved back to Osnabrueck, and then I joined. And then with the lore developing and over the time, yeah, the band grew in the lore aspect. So artistic control is definitely important for me, because the integrity of the band and of the story is what's appealing to me and what's keeping this alive. That everything relates to the story, and everything you can, every lyric, as I said, every song title, every artwork on every shirt, I can tell you like 2 hour story to every artwork of every shirt. So I have to be involved, or I have to be in control to some point, so that it fits into the canon of the story. Of course, there's always like the factor of chance, because I'm working with other visual artists, and I'm telling them my point of view and what's happening in the story, and they are contributing. And also my band members, like when Kalle is playing a certain solo over a certain part, it like reflects in me, and I see, and I suddenly see things in the story I haven't seen before. So it's definitely not me being the mastermind controlling everything, but artistic control in the sense that it has to be in line with the canon of the story. It's very important to me. Yeah.
I got 2 more questions. When looking at your record titles, is it just my imagination, but you like this 3-word, 4-word constructions, bearer of many names, carrier of weight. So you like these off constructions, right? Which give a little hint at what is to come, right?
Yeah, I mean, the record titles were not planned like from the very beginning. It was really like Carrier of Weight came out of nowhere. It was like the term I found within myself, and then yeah, I like the idea of having this like carrier, bearer, and wearer, these like yeah, connected words in a way to represent these records. And
Also somewhat
these
aesthetic words, right? Carrier,
yes, yeah,
bearer, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And the like these off constructions, I think they are also not like deliberately chosen. I think it's more coming from my consumption of metal back in the days. Like Suffocation has many titles like off
Seventh
like
son of a
it's
seventh son.
yeah, or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, or Effigy of the Forgotten. So like I think these off constructions, it's stemming from me being a metal nerd of a kind who when I was a teenager, I was buying the CDs and I was reading the lyrics to each song when I was listening to the songs, and like the ways they constructed the titles, I think this reflects in me. Yeah.
And last question, drei gleichen. Are those the three people in the background? Your basically new band logo?
Yes. so yeah, so the logo of the label Drei Gleichen is from the artwork of Edinburgh. I when I was at the library working on my studies, I suddenly had the idea of extracting these three ghosts, or whatever you want to call it, and using it as a very simple logo. And I asked Edinburgh, like, can I extract it from your artwork and use it as a logo for my label? And he said, yeah, go for it, have fun, and best luck with the label. And so yeah, it's definitely from the artwork. And it was also for me like a revealing moment, like because we used it before we released, or before we revealed the cover, so people already saw the Drei Gleichen logo. And now that they see the record cover, they see, this is where it's coming from. And if you ask the lore background, who are these three figures, I think I don't want to tell at this point.
No, it was just I just wanted to know if the drei gleichen, if that is the logo. Okay.
Yeah.
And to show you how nerdy you can make people, when I saw the logo for the label, I of course immediately recognized it from the cover of the new record, and I immediately jumped into the digital collection and looked at the not the logo, the artworks for the first three records, and I was looking like it must be somewhere there. So you see how nerdy you can make people. And of course they're not there because it's Lewandowski and he didn't do the Drei Gleichen logo. But you see, that's what you cause people to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So first of all, thanks for all those very, very interesting details. But nobody leaves a Veil of Sound interview without going through the infamous quickfire round. You will always get two alternatives, like Killers or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning, AC versus DC, McDonald's versus Burger King. Whichever do you prefer? What is your choice? And maybe a short explanation. It does not always have to be something related to music, but in your case, most of it does. Let's start off with something connected to old concept records from the 70s. Which prog rock band do you prefer, Pink Floyd or Genesis? And there is only one correct answer to the question.
I'm not really into any of those. Like probably Kalle from our band, who's more into the 70s stuff. I can't really give an answer because I'm not into either of those. I've listened more to Pink Floyd but that's by chance, probably not like a deliberate choice of mine. So I have very little connections to both bands.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the only correct answer is Genesis.
All right.
Paradise
Maybe I
Lost.
should check them out then.
Yeah, but don't be only the stuff with Peter Gabriel on the mic. They turned shitty as soon as Phil Collins took over. You know, like the guy should have stuck behind the drum kit. That would be good. Anyway, Paradise Lost versus Opeth.
For me, it's definitely Opeth. I don't own any Paradise Lost records, and I've listened to I don't listen to Opeth currently, but I've listened to them when I was a teenager, and I have like 3 or 4 records of them, Blackwater Park and others, and I was interested, or I was intrigued by the vocal range, which was very interesting, and the contrast of being able to release very beautiful music in a common sense and also very heavy music. I really like this.
Swallow the Sun versus Catatonia.
I mean, I know both bands by name, but I don't know any real contents. I just remembered like Catatonia had the Crow on one of their record covers, and at the time I was really diehard Amun-Ra and Church of Ra fan, and I was like, I know this crow sign, this is from Amun-Ra, but this is like the only anecdote I can tell.
So if we don't have any connections. If we talk about the Church of Ra, which band would you prefer, Oathbreaker or Vigedot?
For me personally, it's Vigedot. Their first 3 records are like a total blast.
Yeah.
And I also like these, like every cover is a photo of the hometown of one of the members. Yes. I also like this trilogy thing. Oathbreaker is super interesting, but it hasn't touched me as Vigedot did.
Labels that I could see you on both of them. Peaceville or $20. 20 bucks. Oh my God, $20 spin. It's hot in Germany, folks. It's hot in Germany.
Yeah. My initial response would be $20 spin, but I know that $20 spin have a line on their website saying we don't release double albums on bands we haven't worked with. So it was only for us, okay, they will never take us. But I personally listen to more $20 spin stuff.
So you have to write another EP, get that one out on $20 bin, and then release the third cycle through $20 spin.
Yeah, probably.
What do you prefer, writing and recording versus touring?
I mean, we wrote and recorded way more than we toured. Like we only did 2 tours now, and the first was 6 dates, and now we have like 10 dates, but only 8 shows. So the writing and recording process is way more familiar to us. I think it's writing and recording for me.
As you are going on vacation pretty soon, I don't want to go where you go, because otherwise all the fans will be following you, right? Of course.
Probably not.
What would be your preferred destination, the mountains or the seaside? And one has to say, the guy lives in Osnabrueck. He doesn't know either of them.
It's pretty flat around here, and no sea really in the near area. It's a tough decision, but I think it's the mountains. I think the mountains, in the past, the mountains spoke to me more than the sea did.
You said that you like blues. So I give you the two alternatives of Junior Kimbo and Robert Johnson.
I don't know any of them. I'm sorry.
Then you have to check them out. Those are like quintessential bluesmen. Johnson is the one who, legend has it, sold his soul to the devil and came back the best blues guitar player ever. That is the guy who Eric Clapton took his lessons from.
Okay.
Two extreme doom, extreme metal bands, Bellwitch versus Mismore. And I wouldn't like to choose.
I will choose Mismore. The Yath record, I don't know how to pronounce it, like really hit me, and the first European appearance of them at Roadburn playing the album in full was like
you and me. We were in so many halls at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We must set a meeting for next year. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. It would be a pleasure. One thing, like on the live when he played at Roadburn, he was doing these Nazgul vocals way more than on the recording. Like these really high squeals. I love them. And this was a really massive record and also live performance.
Fun fact: do you know who is playing the drums in Mismore? The guy from Hell. And do you know who's playing the drums in Hell? Mismore.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. I just maybe a recommendation for the listeners. The drummer of Bellwitch has a new death metal band, Autophagie, and it's really great. I love it.
Yeah. We will also put the link into the show notes. Very good hint. Yeah, Jesse has a new project, and it's really, really good. It doesn't show a lot of connections to Bellwitch, not too many, but it's really, really good. But I also think there shouldn't be connection to Bellwitch. You said that you like US hip hop. I'm not sure if you are too familiar with either of them, but I mean, like, I'm a guy born in the 70s, you know, and if I listen to hip hop, I listen to older stuff. So, two alternatives: KRS-One versus Common.
I don't know any of them.
I knew it.
I'm really listening to modern how do you say it, temporary artists a lot. So I'm not familiar. So do
you like it when hip hop artists move into different genres, like or when hip hop moves into different genres, like Lil Nas X? You know the question: is that guy a hip hopper or is he a country star? Do you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, like Machine Gun Kelly doing like this pop punk thing and going back and forth with hip hop, and like Suicide Boys and Ghostmane, like incorporating, like it's sounding like Slipknot versus Korn versus trap music, and I'm absolutely into that. If you switch up sounds and incorporating new sounds, and Lil Nas X is doing interesting things and being openly gay, and I love his vibe, and it's awesome. I like this stuff.
So what do you then think of a band like Clipping?
Clipping?
Yeah, Clipping.
Yeah. So there is a bell ringing at the back of my head, but it's not coming up.
Well, it could be to your liking. And now, a band that you probably have listened to, Blood Incantation. Question: which part of their oeuvre do you like more? Stuff like the Hidden Histories or Time Wave, like the new ambient stuff? Which one speaks more to you?
I was a bit disappointed by the Time Wave, by the ambient record. I mean, I was going into it like not expecting too much, like because I'm listening to so much dark ambient drone music, which is absolutely awesome, and no one, I mean, not really anyone knows those bands, and not from my perspective. I was like, let's see if they can really match my expectations of ambient drone music. I didn't dislike the record, but it also hadn't really too much highlights for me. Maybe I'm also not like into these synthesizer. I mean, they are really like also into the equipment side. Like they I mean, every member was playing like 6 different antique Korg whatever synthesizers, which I have no affection to, or which I'm not like, oh, he's using this is crazy, he's using this old machine. So there wasn't like this attachment level for me. So I'm definitely more into the classical death metal side. I wasn't too big on hidden history, Bloodspawn or Starborn, which is the first one. The first one was like which I'm personally listening to the most.
So,
but it's an awesome band,
and I think the move to publish a record like Time Wave, I think it's Time Wave 0, to publish that record, that was a very, very ballsy move. Those guys showed a lot of cojones when they did that. So
yeah, absolutely. Like people were saying like they should have done it under a different name, and I was disagreeing because I really like this. They're doing what they want to do. They tell the story they want to tell. And it's about incantation, and I liked it.
Yeah, and it's a huge middle finger to everybody who's like, oh, I have a certain expectation, and you have to fulfill that one. Mo, thanks for your time. Thanks for all the insights. And we are, of course, waiting for the next 6 LP records, which will be chapter 4.
Yes, okay, let's see. Hopefully not.
Yeah, I expect it to be a little shorter than the last one. So thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and talk soon.
All right, thank you, man. Bye.